Hello and welcome back to another episode of the IceMac MMA podcast. I'm Jackson McCarty, joined as always by my buddy Alex Eisman. We've got two upcoming fight cards to talk about, a Fight Night and UFC 307. We've got four fights to look back on from 306 a couple weeks ago now, and a couple of big pieces of news just from around the MMA world. But before we get into any of that, make sure you follow us, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts. Make sure to check it out and share it. And then Alex, buddy, how you doing?
I'm good. Good. Back at the crib in Ann Arbor right now, fresh off a physically dominant Michigan football victory over USC.
I
30
wish I would have been there.
yards.
It looked incredible.
It was lit. It was lit. And like today, I mean, I definitely celebrated too hard last night and I'm paying for it today. But no, it was awesome. It was great to just have like a nice win. After getting smoked by Texas was the last game that I was at of Michigan. So
Any mysterious residue on the couch by chance?
dude, you'd have to check the stadium seating.
Oh my God. I was making a reference to what was that, Thanksgiving?
Yeah,
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 yeah. That was I didn't know
yeah,
if you went to there was two directions that you
yeah,
that could have
yeah,
been interpreted as, but no, all right. Let's we can get
yeah.
beyond that. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of an issue. All right, let's jump into this because it is a massive, massive piece of news that won't affect that many UFC fans, but the MMA community as a whole very much altered now that this one's happened. Demetrious Johnson, Mighty Mouse, officially putting the gloves down, getting out of the cage. Um, not in enough Mount Rushmore conversations, not in enough just greatest of all time conversations. Um, it sucks that he had to finish his career outside of the UFC. I wish we would have been able to get him back at least for a couple before he inevitably put those gloves down. But what a career!
Yeah,
Truly.
I mean, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like the reason why the flyweight division still exists, the greatest flyweight ever. It's not close
No.
either. Um, and you think about the guys that he has taken out who are also greats in that division. I'm pretty sure he's beaten all of them. Um, like yeah, he's just for such a small dude, the dominance that he was able to small dude for flyweight, by the way. Like
Right.
he's like, proportionally still pretty undersized at the flyweight class, and just what he was able to do against bigger guys than him, maybe better in one area. But he was just so good everywhere that it made him an impossible puzzle to figure out. And the Cejudo loss, still disputed to
As it
this
should be.
day. As it should be, yeah. And I mean, he did have a win over Cejudo earlier too, so it's like, yeah, man, he's without a doubt the greatest flyweight of all time. Did a lot for the sport, did a lot for the division, and I think he honestly did a lot for just one promotionally as well.
Yeah, I think he absolutely put him on the map, for a lot of fans. I don't want to say, he built it or anything like that,
Yeah,
but he definitely elevated that brand. And, now I think it's got a lot more attention on it, even now that he's gone, than it would have ever had he not made a stop out there.
yeah,
I quickly do want to add as well, when this happened, Dana did come out and say that Mighty Mouse is absolutely a Hall of Famer, will be put into it at some point. And I know we like to get on Dana's case a lot on this podcast, and for good reason. But we also should be giving him his flowers when he does correct. And that was absolutely the right way to play that. And
no,
while he might not have respected Mighty Mouse as much as he should have while he was in the company, to make sure to at least retroactively be like, you know what, you more than earned that spot in the Hall of Fame, very big, and beyond deserved.
yeah. And I think he realizes he kind of messed up on that one, which again, kind of uh apologies are not really Dana's thing. Um, So yeah, like you said, seeing that at least like yeah, you got to give respect to for kind of owning up to it and still recognizing that he is one of the greats and is going to be recognized that way. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's all
Absolutely. And then obviously I mentioned we're going to talk about 307. One of the fights we will no longer get to talk about, Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. That one is now off because Aljo is out. It does actually a fairly decent bit to the card, in my opinion.
yeah. Well, I think it was more on the Mobstar side is who we wanted to see probably see how good he is. But yeah, definitely hurts the main card. I mean, this isn't for a card with two title fights. They're two that I'm not like. I don't think either of us are super stoked about in
No.
general. Like, obviously, Alex Pereira's fighting, and that's great. But like, this is not going to be like we're not even going to see him be tested in there.
It is an
And I
excuse
know,
to have Alex Pereira on your card for pay-per-view buys.
yeah,
There,
yeah. I
I
was
don't
gonna
think
say
there's
I didn't want to get too far ahead of us, you know, in how we stack the show, but yeah, it's definitely took a little bit of a hit with that.
Yeah. So we don't really know at this point. We're recording on Sunday. We don't really know who's going to be Mobstar's opponent right now. I saw like some DWCS guys trying to get in there. That won't make the main card,
No.
So if assuming he does pop up on it, he is obviously a guy to watch, just not nearly as much of a highlight worthy
Yeah.
fight to predict and talk about now.
Yeah.
Um, okay. We've got technically 2 weeks worth of cards to talk about. It really just one fight from 2 weeks ago now. Unfortunately, we were right about Gilbert Burns.
Yeah. We were right about Sean Brady too. We knew he
Yeah,
was good.
yeah. I mean, but it is more just sad for Gilbert to not be Dorino really
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he like we said, man, it's everything we said in the last show. He's just old, like he's old, and now the losses have kind of been piling up on him to good fighters, and now it's like, all right, now it's more the young up and comers that are kind of taking him out, and it's part of it.
It is.
Part of it. Father Time catches up to everyone, man.
It absolutely is. Yeah, but no, to not to dwell on the Gilbert side of stuff, Sean Brady, like you said, looked great. I mean, that's the kind of Sean Brady that I remember pre-Bilal, before that kind of threw a wrench and everything. Um, there's still plenty of upside and plenty of promise and plenty of skill there. And I'm just excited to see what they got cooking up for him next.
Yeah, and like that's still like obviously we were saying what we had to say about Gilbert, but that's not saying that it's a it's not an impressive win for Sean. Like Gilbert is still super good and very worthy of being ranked in the welterweight division. But he's not a top five guy anymore. But that's not to say it's not to take anything away from how big of a win this is for Sean.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't have to be a title contender to be an impressive win. Um,
Yeah.
and it just kind of works out that way. With this next one, we'll go ahead and talk about the main event from 306. Merab Masterclass.
Oh,
And I
loved every second of it.
obviously I thought this one was going to be closer than it was. Um, Sugar Show,
The judges did think it was closer than it actually was.
correct. The judges were following my podcast prediction more than they
Oh,
were the actual
it was
fight.
the yeah, judges were getting the Dana White talking to before the card started. He paid him.
But I mean, the fight was just never in question.
No, it was I the only round that I think he could have given to Sean is 5 because of what he did with that body shot. It must have been like a liver thing with him because it was bothering him a little bit. But first 4 rounds, clearly Merab. Like all no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Well, and now on the outside of this fight, obviously plenty of very fun matchups to imagine Merab in, but no Sugar Show for probably a while because
Yeah.
he's getting
Surgery.
surgery.
Abram, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then he was also like kind of on his Britney Spears shtick on Twitter. But what's new?
Well, what I saw was he like just sent out a tweet storm saying about how he won the fight 3-2. Like,
Yeah,
dude,
I think he said he won 1, 3, and 5.
yeah, shut up.
Yeah, I mean,
Actually, shut up. And
I am
if anyone in your camp tells you that you won that fight too, they are stupid, and you need to like reevaluate who you're spending time with, and it's like because that's not going to make you any better. Like if you're just like bitching about a fight that the whole world could see you lost. You know
yes.
what I'm saying? It's crazy.
With
It's yeah,
now to play devil's advocate to that, almost exactly the same thing as he did with the Cheeto fight, and he still ended up becoming a champion. Like I don't know that his circle's necessarily the issue. I think he's just got an ego, which
well,
you know
okay.
you do need as a fighter, but like not to that level.
I understood it more with the Cheeto fight, and that's why like I never said anything about it before now because I get it. Like he got hurt. Like that's the same thing. Like if Tom Aspinall said it about Curtis Blades when he got hurt in that fight, or
Right.
Chris Weidman against Uriah Hall. Like if you get like a freak injury in one of those fights and you have a loss because of it, then it's like it's understandable. Like I
Right.
get that. This is like pure delusion.
Right. There was no injury. There was no,
Yeah.
so to speak, easy way out. He
Yeah.
had to go, he went the full 25, lost the full 25, but is claiming otherwise.
Yeah.
I am a fan of when Sean O'Malley gets in the cage. Not my particular cup of tea outside of it. I do think he has a certain quality to offer MMA, but that kind of thing is going to turn a lot of fans off a lot more than is going to put them on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the opposite of what you're trying to do if you're going to be this big marketable guy.
Yeah. Yep. But Merab's dominant. And Merab's also like he's pretty fun too. Like maybe not like stylistically, but personality wise, he's definitely he's a character and you love to see it. Like I love to see it, I guess. I don't know how you feel.
Well, yeah, he is pretty much just the opposite of Sean. Like his style is objectively kind of boring, but he as an entertainer, especially outside of it, is great, and he's an easy dude to cheer for. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, either way, all that to say, congratulations, Merab. I'm very
Mhm.
pumped you have the belt. Now let's get some of these true crazy grappling fights rolling because we need to see as many of them as possible before that age starts getting up there and you start aging out of belt range.
Yeah. Well, Umar is if it is going to be Umar next, that's going to be insane. Um two like by far the two best grapplers in the division. It'll be I hope it's Umar next. Like obvious, and I think Umar is going to win that fight, and I would like to see Merab's title reign last a little longer. And I'm not saying that he couldn't win. I just don't think he will. And I'd like to see him maybe get someone else before that. But Umar is the most deserving.
Yeah, I mean, comfortably, but you're right. I would like for that to probably be the second defense. Almost, I know we were very up in arms about it when it happened, so I hate using it as an excuse, but I almost want Marab to get a Cheeto equivalent for his first defense.
Yeah, just get a ruby on the belt.
Right.
I yeah,
Something that could be fun, but you're not really having to question if Marab's coming out with it.
yeah, yeah. Um, God, but there's not really anyone like I know he said Figueredo, but I don't think Figgy deserves it yet. The
No,
only person that I would be like, all right, like this dude has earned it is I know Umar just beat him, but Sandhagen, just because he got screwed the last several years out of a title shot. He deserves it. That's the guy I'll give it to. Um,
yeah,
if you
you
decide to
can't
go in a different
justify
direction.
Cejudo's out, Jan's out,
Jan
Cheeto's
probably
out.
needs one more to build his way back up.
Right. Cheeto, obviously not. Song Yadong, no. So yeah, I mean, you really are pretty much just staring down Corey or Umar, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So Alex, I mentioned that we were unfortunately wrong about Gilbert Burns, but we were very fortunately correct about Valentina Shevchenko. Wasn't a hard one to predict, but I know it's your girl, so I'm going to cede the floor to you. How you feeling after that one?
I feel amazing, dude. That was everything I wanted to see out of her. And I know after the fight, Dana was the one who was complaining about how it was boring. But like,
That's
dude,
Dana.
like, yeah, and he was definitely pissed that Sean lost. So I'll cut him a little bit of slack on that. But no, I that was everything I wanted to see, man. She was like I expected her to wrestle. She did for 5 rounds. And even when they were standing up for the most part, I thought she got the better of the striking exchanges. The only real my only real concern was on her takedown entries. Grasso was always jumping on a submission and like it would take her a little bit to get out of it. But other than that, I mean, I don't think I have any complaints. That was dominant.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was kind of like we were talking about with the the first title fight. Wasn't ever really in question. You didn't have to sweat it out. Like if you had money on Valentina Shevchenko, I don't think you were very worried about your bet slip for most of that fight. Um, so yeah, it's we're kind of restoring a little bit of order now, right? I know Sean had kind of a rocky trip to the title with the Piotr Jan fight and all that kind of stuff. But Merab has been pretty unquestionably great. Um, Valentina, arguably the women's GOAT. I know it's Amanda, but she's very much in that conversation. Back to her title, where it needs to be. This card wasn't exactly incredible. I know the second main card fight was phenomenal, but a lot of these maybe lack some of the pure entertainment aspect, but it did
Yeah.
have a lot of satisfying results at the minimum.
Yeah. But also it's like I mean, when I was watching the card and what they were doing with the sphere, like I thought the production value of just the event that they put on was amazing. And you could have had 14 fights of dudes and women humping each other for 15 minutes in the mat, and it still would have been worth it to like be there watching it because I thought what they did just with the sphere in general was pretty amazing. Gotta
The
give them
only
credit.
Yeah, oh, the only thing that annoyed me was how long it took because East Coast time, as you obviously you're
Yeah, it was super late.
I mean, it was 2 a.m. before Sean's fight was over.
Yeah.
And
I fell asleep. I fell asleep waiting for the post fight pressers, and it was like 3 a.m.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you can't as a UFC fan, like it already takes long enough to get to the actual fights. So, the Sphere did drag that out. So if they could just move that up like an hour or two, that'd be pretty cool. But
Yeah.
you're right, the production quality just of the entire event was absurd. I think
Yeah.
that's the only real way you can say it.
Yep. It was awesome.
Yeah, and then the last one we'll talk about Diego Lopez passing a massive hurdle with T City. He just keeps going up, and now he is absolutely in play for a title fight.
Yeah, he is for sure. And uh if Max wasn't already booked for Ilya, I would have told you it should be Diego right now.
Yeah,
Um because Brian Ortega is like the man. Like he took out Yair. He uh like again, like we said before, almost choked out Volk at kind of the peak of his powers. Like Brian Ortega is that dude. And Diego made him look it was different ball game, majors and minors right there. That's what it looked like.
very much so. Do you think that they make Diego fight Evloev for an eliminator, or do you think they just let him chill and take the winner of Ilya Max?
Oh, he's taking the winner of Billy Max because he's a Dana White guy. Like Dana doesn't like Mossar, so he's gonna push Diego for a title as soon as he can.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
this one is deserving. The
yeah.
Sean one I have a problem with. This one, 100% deserved.
Yeah, they scaled Diego up consistently, constantly, um, and he just kept knocking them down. Sean went from cans to Jan to title, and we don't have
Yeah.
to keep talking about Sean O'Malley, and really we won't have to for another like 10 months. So, I know you're pumped about that, but all right, let's jump into the predictions that we've got now. Two fights from the upcoming fight night, and we'll start with Nasruddin Imavov versus one of my rising stars, of course, Brendan Allen.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep it short here because I figure you're gonna have a decent amount to say about your boy. But I am taking Brendan. Um, yeah, I think he's a kind of an uncrowned top 3 fighter in the division. Like his grappling, I'll put up against anyone at in middleweight. And his striking is super strong as well. Like he's like I think he could if he wanted to, stand and trade for 15 minutes, I think he can win that fight. I'm not gonna like to be honest. But yeah, that's you go for it. You go for it.
Yeah, of course. So, BA absolutely has the advantage on the ground. That's the easy money. I would give Imavov a slight advantage on the feet. It's not by much, obviously, and I don't think it would be enough to, say, oh, Imavov's going to win on the feet, because I do think it would just be, you put him in the cage and 6 times Imavov wins on the feet, 4 times Brandon does. But that ground game, like you said, is elite in every way, shape, and form. I think that's what we'll see here. I think he'll get Imavov on the mat. I'm gonna go decision just because Imavov is a tough dude to put out. But Brendan Allen was one of those later round dudes when we did our draft that I was just like, you know what, I'll take a flyer on him. And it has aged really, really well. I don't want to, be like I predicted Brendan Allen by any means, because I did not think it was going to be this. Um, but he could be a champion.
He
And,
could.
and
He for
that is
sure could
something,
be.
yeah, and that's just something I did not really. I was like, oh, I maybe am getting a top 5 guy,
Yeah.
and to kind of be more like a Gaethje than a Habib. But um, Brendan Allen is just constantly impressing every single time he's in the cage. And if you haven't been checking out just about every fight he's got, you're doing yourself a disservice as an MMA fan, because
He's super exciting.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like he is a great grappler, but it's not at the expense of boring you to tears. You know,
Yeah.
he's bringing the action constantly. So, yeah, you're not going to see me go away from Brendan Allen whenever he's on cards very often. This very much falls into that category. And until we get him in those title fights, I think I just can pretty much mail it in as he's going to win it.
Yep. Yep. I'm right there with you. And I guess what I meant more in terms of the stand up was just like the threat of being taken down is always going to be there.
Yes.
So that'll trip out Imavov a lot. And
Right. I didn't.
that's going to give him a big advantage on the feet.
Yeah, and I didn't want to like insinuate that one way or the other. I just, was elaborating a little bit more on
Yeah. Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
Uh,
But let's hit we're going to the main event with
yeah,
one of our guys as well.
yeah.
Not a matchup that I think either of us want to see for him.
Uh-uh.
But regardless, it's happening. Renato Money Moicano taking on Benoit Saint Denis.
Which, worth noting, these are kind of 2 of your guys. Like, obviously, we're both Moicano guys, but you were on the Benoit train far earlier than I
Yeah,
was.
he was
Uh,
my breakout star last year.
right.
Yeah.
You were very much on that before I was. So I know this is probably giving you a little bit more pause to go through. So I'm going to let you take the floor first, because I want you to be able to rip that Band-Aid off.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple. It's gonna be Benoit here. As much as it hurts me, uh I was not encouraged. Like what Moicano did in his fight against Jalen Turner, absolutely respectable and like super electric when it happened. Um, However, he got rocked and did not look like he was anywhere in the same realm as Jalen Turner on the feet, and it feels like he kind of got lucky with that sub, and it was just kind of a freak bang bang kind of sequence of events that happened. And against a guy like Benoit, who like I know there's like some things about whether he was sick or had staph or something when he fought Dustin. He still fought Dustin super well, and he's the one who ended up getting caught by a classic Dustin Poirier left hook.
Right.
Um, but again, like he has all the grappling ability to match Marcano. And what he did striking with Dustin, I don't know. I don't know how Moicano has a path to victory here, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's one of those situations where yeah, they probably put Benoit up against the iron a bit too early with Dustin, but I will still take a Benoit Saint Denis performance like he had against Dustin 9 times out of 10 over what Moicano put on tape in his last one.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, it's just even in loss, you can win, and Benoit won during that fight. Especially if he was sick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, give me Saint Denis by KO here.
Yeah. I'll probably I don't want to say sub. I don't know if it's going to be a KO. Um I'll go by decision. I'll be safe and say it goes by decision. I I think he'll definitely have, it's not out of the realm of possibility to knock him out. It's just like I know that's also not Benoit's, like that's not his bread and butter, you know.
Right.
It's not what he's gonna look for, I feel like. It might just kind of happen, you know.
That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. Just
Yeah.
freak accident.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Alex, we've got the upcoming fight night out of the way. Now, let's shift our focus to 307. Before we jump into the fights that we are predicting, we want to shout out Carla Esparza on this card. I believe this is going to be her retirement fight.
It is her retirement fight. Shout out to a legendary career of the least exciting fights that we've ever seen in the octagon. Godspeed.
It is a Hall of Fame
I know she's
resume.
gonna give us 15 more minutes of five significant strikes around. It's gonna be great.
It is literally, it's a Hall of Fame resume with a DWCS video library. Like it is not awesome. And then also Jose Aldo, uh, that's a
Way
Hall
cool.
of, yeah, that's an outright Hall of Famer. But
Carla's probably a Hall of Famer though, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Two-time champ. She's definitely a Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. But yeah, those two both on the prelims as of now. We don't really know how the card's going to shake because of that Mobstar fight, like we mentioned. But we do want to start this with what is currently the featured prelim: Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Joaquin Buckley. Alex, what do you got here?
This is gonna be. This one is fight of the night contender for sure.
100%.
Literally anytime Wonder Boy walks into the octagon, that's the case. And Buckley has just been a buzzsaw since he's gotten a welterweight, man. He's been a scary MF, like with the knockouts that he's put together. Um, and as much as it hurts me because I am a Wonder Boy guy, I'm rolling with Buckley here. I think I think just the trajectory that he's on and the power that he's got, man, it's pretty insane for welterweight.
So this one actually took me a minute. I did kind of circle back and forth because Buckley historically has not really passed the test, and I know he's a different weight class and all that, but like Vicente Luque is his best win, and that was a recent Vicente Luque.
Hmm.
But that's doesn't really do a lot for me. Um, so ultimately, it comes down to if I think Buckley is going to be comfortable and confident enough fighting a guy like Wonder Boy in that weird style that's going to give even the most talented fighters headaches. And honestly, I don't think he is.
Okay.
I'm taking Wonder Boy here just because that style is always going to keep him in a fight. Um, and like I said, I think Buckley has all the tools to be awesome at some point. I just don't think he's got it yet.
Yeah, and like that's one I'm not gonna gripe with you over. Yeah, this was definitely more of a gut kind of feeling out of me than logic um or stats or numbers or anything like that. Like this truly was just like, man, this guy, like it just, I don't know, it just feels like he's got something going that's working well. Can't explain it. Kind of like how Drekus has done it as well. at middleweight, and that's the gut feeling that I'm gonna roll with.
Well, and to a much larger level, Charles.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
ultimate guy to point at when it's like, oh, this guy switched weight classes and is good now. Um, it's Charles. And I would not be shocked if Buckley finds a window and clips Wonder Boy and puts him down. It's just that kind of style mixed with that kind of experience is always going to be so tough, and Buckley just hasn't proven to me that he's up to that yet.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, surprised that that ended up being the featured pre and not the main card opener. But
Yeah, yeah, and it very well might be now. Now
yeah,
that
I guess.
now
Yeah,
that Boyev's off.
yeah.
Um,
Good.
which
But
and I definitely think you could have put it over this opener because
well, that's what. Yeah, that's what I was.
yeah, insinuating.
Yeah,
Because yeah, this Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. Um, not real crazy about the fight, not real crazy about either guy. Um, but I guess they both have stopping power and can win feet and ground. Um, to be honest, Alex, I'm going to keep this one kind of short because I was more or less indifferent. I'm going with Roman because I just think he's the better fighter.
I it, I'm going with Holland. I feel like Roman's kind of gotten fraud checked a little bit these last year or two. Um, and Holland has shown that he's capable of beating like kind of ranked guys, but like in the 10 to 15 range of ranked. Obviously, wasn't if he didn't get hurt in his Wonder Boy fight, like he still fought super well that whole way, and I think he probably would have had a better chance against a guy who is a top five fighter at welterweight. I know this is at middleweight, but yeah, I think it's this one's kind of volatile just based on how the way that these two guys fight. You don't know what Kevin Holland is going to show up in the octagon either on a given night. So yeah, I mean, this is more just kind of personal preference also. Like I like Kevin Holland. I think he's a fun guy to root for. Um, so I think I'll end up rolling with him here, but again, would not be super shocked to see Roman win this either because there are some fights where I believed in him and he let me down, and there are some fights where he has looked really good. So we'll
Yeah,
see. But the next fight on the card is one I'm more excited to talk about because Kayla's back and
yeah,
she really should be fighting for the title, but
that's coming next. Don't they're absolutely setting up Pena versus Harrison.
yeah,
That's what they want. And I would love to spend a ton of time, deliberating about why I think Kayla Harrison is, the best, probably the best women's fighter on the planet now that Amanda's retired. Um, but to be perfectly honest, she's just going to keep winning until there's gold on the line. And if Juliana Pena's who's across from her, she's going to keep winning that too. Um, this is, I mean, I no disrespect to Kettle and Vieira, this ain't close, just because Kayla Harrison is different.
yeah. I'm with you. I don't know if this is gonna make it out of the first round. I would be kind of surprised if it did.
Yeah,
Kayla is just that good. Like she really is. Like every time that she steps into the UFC octagon, we are like blessed to be able to watch her because she is so special.
you
So
don't
good.
really have spectacles in MMA anymore. She
Yeah.
is a spectacle.
Yeah.
And I know we've said it a million times, but I am so pumped that she is in the UFC now.
I am too. Her being like again, and we've gone back to this a lot of times. I think she'll be the one to kind of coax Amanda out of retirement for maybe one more fight. And I mean that'll be the biggest women's MMA fight ever,
Yeah,
and not it won't
unquestionably.
be close.
Yeah, and
Not even
well,
close.
so in terms of like sales, I don't know, but yeah, in terms of just pure
Important sales.
greatness, it is. Yeah, you can't. There's no. This is the biggest fight I think you've ever been able to make in women's fighting history.
Yeah. So not much to say in terms of the actual what's going to happen, at this card because Kayla is going to smoke her. But
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah.
Knock her out, tap her out, take her all 15 if she wants. It don't matter.
Yeah.
Now we've got to decide
Her
who
future opponent.
exactly. Um, I've already mentioned Juliana Pena going up against the current bantam champion Raquel Pennington. Um, Alex, it's going to be Pena, isn't it?
It is. Just like I laugh every time we're like, yeah, the current bantamweight champion Raquel Pennington. It's like, dude, what are we doing?
God,
Uh,
we've fallen so far.
we've fallen so far. We went from Nunes to Raquel Pennington, bro.
But the beacon of light is there.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is.
And for the time being, Pena is going to play it low and slow on the feet. It's going to make it hard for Pennington to really establish a tempo. She absolutely has the takedown advantage. That's where this fight will go. Give me a decision, just cause. But I'm expecting takedowns early and often, keeping it away from the feet as much as she can, and getting a not an easy win, but definitely a win.
I would say decisive win,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah,
Yeah, everything you said, I agree with. Yeah, obviously, I'm not super excited about either of these fighters. Yeah, Pena, just because of her, she does have, championship experience. I guess Pennington does technically as well now, but Pena has more.
right.
And she spent, 30, 35 minutes in the octagon with Amanda Nunes too, who's going to be the best fighter she ever faces until maybe Kayla. I don't know. I don't know who's the greatest between those two yet. I would still say Nunes, but
Yes. Yeah. It's got to be Amanda for now, at minimum.
yeah, until they fight, it's got to be Amanda. But yeah. So just because of that, I would take Pena in this one.
Yeah. And then this last one, we did kind of, expose the lead here. But Alex Pereira fighting Khalil Roundtree, just an excuse to get Poatan on the card.
Yeah, and another knockout to his resume. Um, Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. It's to get Poton on the card and a knockout on the record. That's it.
Yep. It just a cool video to show in future hype packages whenever we've got fights
Yeah,
for
when he fights
Poatan.
someone cooler. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Just extra video. Yep. So when these cards are both over, Alex, where can they catch us talking about it?
YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Fox 19 Jackson on Twitter, Alex Eisman TV on Twitter. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes, sir. We'll see.
Right after 307 wraps up.
Yep.